Tanner is our technical communications education manager, and he has reviewed and updated corporate materials for scientific accuracy. So he's helped us a lot with our product marketing across different products in the business. So without further ado, I bring you over to Tanner.
Thanks for that intro. It's fantastic information. So today I'm going to jump into the science. I'm not going to mention any product because it allows me to dive a little bit deeper into the science behind the ingredients and what this is all about and some of the secret proprietary science behind this. So super excited today to talk about the science of weight management. Here's going to be your outline of what we're going to talk about today. We honestly could do a deep dive on each of these sections, talking about healthy eating plan and exercise. Point number 2, protein and meal replacement science and the science of protein. Number 3, motivation, right? What we can do at the beginning. You can see key ingredients at the bottom that we'll touch on, the drumstick, the curry, the turmeric, this incredible blend of ingredients plus prickly pear. We have lean body mass and metabolic rate science, talking about more of the drumstick, curry, and turmeric. How your body responds to food, such a critical topic we'll get into, and the importance of satiety and how you control your appetite with mulberry leaf and guar gum. And then last but not least, the science of stress, how stress impacts snacking and weight overall, and the science behind saffron, vitamin D3, and B6. So I hope you're ready, buckle up your seatbelts. This is going to be a lot of info we're going to cover, but it's going to be fantastic. So first of all, talking about healthy eating, we really looked at the science of the best eating plans that exist in the world today based on the latest science. And what we did is we combined the best aspects of these different plans into one single plan. And as you can see here, a healthy plate is going to look like this. About half of your plate is going to be vegetables and fruits. I put vegetables first and fruits second. We want to focus on vegetables. They're rich in water and fiber, low in calories, very healthy in phytonutrients that come with them. Protein is going to be a little bit more than a fourth of your plate. We want to focus on lean sources of protein. And then whole grains as well, going to be a smaller portion. Water should be your drink of preference. Water has 0 calories. It's very filling. It helps with satiety, and it's very good for you. About 2/3 of your body is made up of water. And then a little bit of healthy fats as well. Some olive oil, some healthy oils, nuts, seeds, etc. Small amounts, but still some healthy fats are going to be good for satiety and good for overall health. When we talk about some of the principles behind this eating plan, it's about calorie density or volume-based eating. Now, you may have heard of that term before or not, but what it deals with is how many calories are in a given volume of food, right? Because you could eat, for example, a whole cup of grapes and you could get about 100 calories from it, or you could eat 100 calories of, let's say, jelly beans or pure sugar, right? It's going to be a very, very small amount. It's not going to fill up that space. So we want to eat foods that take up a lot of space, like fruits and vegetables, proteins, even whole grain foods, and lessen some of the processed carbs and the fats where you're going to get a lot of calories in lesser amounts of volume or space on your plate. So when it comes to healthy eating, a lot of people think, I just need to eat less and less and less, and that's not true. You actually want to eat more of the good things that are filling, that take up a lot of volume on the plate, because they're rich in water, rich in fiber, rich in protein and nutrients. They're going to help with satiety, which is going to be the key driver behind helping people to maintain long-term weight loss. So this calorie density principle is very critical. And I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. You can see here, small differences in the portion size of your foods can make a dramatic difference in the number of calories you get on your plate. As you can see here, we have the plate on the left, 689 calories. You're going to get more fat, carbs, and less protein. Versus the other plate over here, you actually get more protein, 40 grams, but less carbs and less total fat. And so it really aligns with this eating pattern of let's focus more on vegetables, on fruits, smaller portions of whole grains, and adequate amounts of lean protein. This is actually a source of fish, if you can see in that picture. We took it at the Spoon here at our corporate headquarters. But yeah, so it's all about eating more of the good stuff, not eating less, because it helps with satiety and all these key principles. Another component to this that is going to be optional is a time restricted eating, right? It's about balancing the timing in which you eat your foods. And there is a number of new studies that are coming out that really show some nice benefits with restricting the number of hours in which you eat food. Now, keep in mind it's optional, but to me, it's really going to turbocharge a lot of people's results and their expectations. For some, it may be a little bit difficult at first, but you'll find over time, making these small changes really help to eliminate excess food, excess snacking, especially a lot of those late night snacks. You know, if you ever get up 9, 10, 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, you go for a snack in the fridge, you're probably not grabbing a grilled chicken salad to consume, right? You're going to go for the high sugar, the high fat, some of the higher calorie foods that aren't really going to do you any favors in the long run. And so eating within about an 8 to 12 hour window can be good. And it can help naturally consume less calories without even counting calories. With some of these studies, it helps you to naturally curb some of the food, but it seems to be very sustainable, very helpful for long-term weight loss and weight maintenance, and seems to be very easy over time for a lot of people to do. And so just keep that in mind. And then you have this 12 to 16 hour fasting window. We know that fasting is good. It's healthy for the body, not in excess, not in extreme amounts, but this is a normal natural rhythm that the body has for consuming food, but also getting that rest and healing and fasting that happens at nighttime. We also want to be active, right? We want activity. Activity is extremely critical. The type of activity, we want a combination of strength and cardio. Cardio is good to strengthen the heart, to strengthen the lungs, to strengthen the brain. It helps with appetite and satiety, helps with burning more calories, but we especially want to focus on some of the strength training, especially during a calorie deficit when you're eating less calories and losing some weight. We don't want you to lose that muscle, and a little bit of strength training during that time goes a long way. It doesn't make you big and bulky, trust me, but it helps to lean and firm and support that metabolic engine in the body. And in fact, it's probably the most critical time in lifespan to actually exercise and get some strength training to make sure that you can maintain that lean muscle. A variety is good. I just recommend doing things that you love to do, stay active, burn more calories, and help to support that lean tissue. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about some of these different areas that we talked about at the beginning. We're going to talk about protein and meal replacement science. So protein science, what is going to be ideal? Now, when you look at protein recommendations around the globe, they can vary slightly, but generally speaking, they're based on about 10 to 15% of your energy in terms of total energy and calories from protein or carbs or fats. So it's a very low percent. And it's only about 0.8 grams per kilogram protein body weight daily. And so this isn't going to be enough ideally to support lean mass, especially during a calorie deficit. However, what's going to be ideal, as you can see here, around 30% of your energy from protein, about 1.6 grams per kilogram protein daily. And you can see there, that is about double. But when you look at the science, there is this bell curve, if you will, of optimal amounts of protein, and it really reaches that sweet spot at about 1.6 grams per kilogram. So, just doing a little bit of math, I don't have the numbers written out in front of me, but if you happen to weigh around, 80 kilograms, you want to shoot for about 80 times 1.6 grams. That's going to be your protein per day. But the key to that amount is not to just consume very little for breakfast, very little for lunch, which is very common for people, and then have your huge 12-ounce steak and potatoes for dinner where you get the bulk or the majority of your protein. You want to more evenly distribute that protein intake throughout the day, because there's kind of a cap inside of the body for how much your body can use in terms of protein to support muscle protein synthesis for helping to maintain that lean tissue, right? And so you want to more evenly spread that out to more evenly support that metabolic burn or fat burn potential inside of the body with maintaining lean muscle. Okay. This is the concept that I'm getting to with higher protein is going to be ideal. And when you look at diets across the globe, when they are low protein diets, which is about the minimum, 0.8 grams per kilogram, you can see that they're losing on average about 40% of their mass as muscle, which is problematic, right? If you're losing, 10 kilos and 40% of that or 4 kilos is from muscle mass, that's not good for your metabolism, right? That's not good for your fat burn, and not even ideal for your health as well. Muscle plays really key roles with health, with agility, with strength, with endurance, and activity. So you compare that to higher protein diets with about 1.6 grams per kilogram. Sure, you can lose some weight and lose a little bit of muscle, but if you combine that with some exercise, and as you can see in the bottom corner, a little bit of cardio combined with a little bit of resistance training, even just here, 30 minutes twice a week, that it is enough to help to support all of that lean muscle, even while you lose weight. So keep that in mind. When it comes to protein, it's key to get enough, but in terms of a meal replacement, it's really cool because it helps you to reduce calories, but still get the right nutrients, the vitamins and minerals, enough of these key macronutrients to support satiety, to support lean muscle, and help with long-term weight loss and weight maintenance. As you can see on the bottom here, when you look at scientific reviews, I really love this one. It was published and they analyzed all these different diets and they compared normal diets to ones that add a meal replacement or two during the time period. And what they concluded is that after 1 year, which is more long-term maintenance, there was greater weight loss when they used a meal replacement versus diets that did not use a meal replacement. So that's going to be ideal with a shake, getting enough nutrients and supporting that metabolic burn and that overall weight loss long-term. In terms of going to the source, we look at gene expression, and protein plays a really key role. And this seems obvious, but yes, protein helps to maintain lean muscle, but it does so by going to the source, right? It can alter genes that have an impact on muscle protein synthesis. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about motivation. Motivation is absolutely critical. We've seen that in our research and in customer feedback that we've received, and even around the globe. If people start a weight loss journey and they don't begin to see results a little bit quicker, then they seem to be a little discouraged, right? They don't want to continue along this path because everybody wants immediate results, immediate gratification. And I truly do believe that true transformation takes time, but there are some studies and some science and some ingredients that we can leverage to really help people jumpstart those results and see a few changes in terms of weight and body composition early on in the process, even as soon as 2 weeks. So let's talk about some of that science here. When we look at resting metabolic rate, this is key, right? This is going to be the number of calories that your body burns at rest. It keeps you alive. It supports blood pressure, respiration, all the functions inside of your body that you need that utilizes energy. And in terms of your total energy output, that's about 70% of that pie that you can see there on the right. 20% is going to be physical activity. Now that can vary, usually between 10 and 30%. It depends on how active you are and how many calories you burn. And then the thermic effect of food. This is just your body's energy use to break down proteins, carbs, and fats into smaller components. So it actually uses some energy to break that down and create new energy inside of the body. So some people joke, well, the more you eat, the more you burn. Yes, to a degree, but it is a balancing act, right? But what's important here is that lean mass, especially your muscle, is the greatest contributor by far to your resting metabolic rate. So anything you can do to maintain or even build lean muscle is crucial, or taking dietary ingredients that can have a thermogenic effect or that can help to boost your resting metabolic rate are going to be absolutely critical during the time that you're trying to lose weight, but especially at the very beginning. So let's talk about the science of a few key ingredients, okay? We're going to talk about drumstick, curry, and turmeric. And these are ingredients that you may recognize, right? They're commonly used as spices, as herbs in different foods. And anyone had a really yummy curry before, right? A common spice, turmeric as well, very popular, very common, and drumstick as well. It's used in foods as a flavoring agent. But what's interesting about this combination is that a study was done, and it's published there in 2011. They did an in vitro screening where they identified different extracts, and they actually compared it against 100 plus of different ingredients. And these are the ones that ranked the best. So in terms of looking at the best of the best of the best for these metabolic thermogenic changes, these ranked at the top. And they may not be the typical ones that you think about, but the science did not lie. And so relying on that science, after discovering this blend of ingredients that really works well together at inhibiting fat accumulation, which is critical during weight loss, and potentiating fat breakdown. That's code for fat burn, right? Ingredients that enhance your body's ability to burn fat. So after discovering this, they began with a preclinical study, and then we'll get to a few clinical studies seeing the difference. And this is a study, 28 days. It was an animal study first. It's very common for scientists to do some preclinical studies first and then move on to the human randomized studies. What they did in the study is they compared a high-fat diet in group 1 to that exact same diet, plus this herbal blend of drumstick, curry, and turmeric. And what they did is they measured the difference in resting metabolic rate. And what you can see here is that compared to the high-fat diet, there was about a 20% increase in resting metabolic rate in the group that received the exact same diet plus this proprietary herbal blend. You look at the fat tissue there at the bottom. When you see the high-fat diet, so this is those are actually fat cells in yellow at the bottom. You can see that compared to the high-fat diet, the herbal blend helps to shrink some of those fat cells. That's actually a sign of fatty acid oxidation or fat burn that occurs inside of the body. What I love about that is what most people don't understand is in terms of fat cells in the body, you typically have a certain number that you carry with you for the rest of your life. But what fat cells do, when you gain weight, fat cells, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. But as you lose weight or you enhance fatty acid oxidation or fat burn, they shrink and they get a little bit smaller. So really, really good indicators here of fantastic preclinical results. So what happens when you put this to the test in a human clinical study? This is a study that was published in 2012 in 42 men and women. These were obese individuals. They were on a specific diet, both groups, the placebo and the treatment group, of 2,000 calories per day. They were asked to do some exercise, and this was an 8-week study. I'm only showing you the results after 2 weeks in this graph, keep in mind, even though it did go further. After just 2 weeks of receiving this blend, you can see the beginnings of weight loss, right? You can see about 1.5 kilograms in weight loss after just 2 weeks, which was significantly better than the placebo group, even though both groups followed the same diet and the exact same exercise. There was another clinical study that was done. A lot of the same details here that I'm not going to go through, but this is a group that was overweight. So not quite as heavy as the obese group, but in terms of overweight, they had a little bit of extra weight to lose. Same exercise, same diet. The only difference here is versus the placebo and the treatment group, you can see a significant difference. In this study, they actually did see some weight loss too, but what I'm showing you here is a difference in waist circumference. So looking at just overall body shaping differences, you can see about a 1.3 centimeter reduction in waist circumference. So you're just starting to see some significant results in as early as 2 weeks, which is very impressive for human clinical data to demonstrate that kind of a difference so quickly in a weight loss journey. In terms of looking at the source and how these ingredients impact gene expression, when you look at some of these model studies, you can see what they do is they help to this blend of curry, of turmeric, of curcumin, right, of the drumstick. Together, they help to decrease gene expression level of markers of lipogenesis, right? So lipogenesis is pretty much the creation of new fatty acids, right? If your body doesn't utilize carbs that break down into sugars in the body for energy, well, they end up being stored as fat. So you can actually help to curb that process looking at these ingredients from a gene expression perspective. And then on the flip side, you can look at markers of thermogenesis, which is the creation of heat or the body's utilization or creation of energy. And you can see that this blend actually increases levels of thermogenic markers. So that is code for looking at these ingredients, targeting the source of your body's metabolic pathways for inhibiting some of the bad things related to fat gain and fat deposits, and increasing the ability to actually burn additional calories. So really cool science there looking at the source. Prickly pear is another fun ingredient to take. Most of the studies are going to be very short term. So ideally, you would only want to take it for just a short period of time to kind of boost and accelerate results at the beginning. It's studied for body silhouette, so body shaping changes at the beginning, weight management, and antioxidant properties. And this is just a small clinical study where you can see after 1 week, individuals had less swelling in their ankle, calf, and feet, as well as reduced sensation of heavy legs. So what this indicates scientifically is that there's some nice benefits in terms of just water balance and fluid balance inside of the body as a result of taking this in a very, very short period of time. In addition, 67% of the individuals reported that the prickly pear assisted to refine the body silhouette in a positive way. So it's kind of a booster ingredient on top of this herbal blend to really support results at the very beginning and to help motivate people to see change at the very beginning. So pausing here for just a second, we're going to switch gears and talk about the importance of lean body mass and resting metabolic rate. Now, some of these principles and ingredients are going to be very similar, but this is going to be more focused on more long-term, right? Not just 2 weeks, but this is going to be multiple weeks down the road. How do these ingredients perform? How do they work on lean body mass and metabolic rate? So we're going to talk about this same ingredient blend, right? The drumstick, the curry, and the turmeric. Incredible food, herbal, spice ingredients put together and put to the test, and they do wonders over time. I think you're going to be really impressed with this. So we're going to jump right into the first clinical study. This was an 8-week clinical study in obese individuals. And if you just look right at that graph there, look at 2 weeks, like we already mentioned, right? There's going to be a significant difference. It begins that journey, but the results accelerate over time. You can see that after 4 weeks and after 8 weeks, there is a really nice increment in body weight reduction over time, right? You can see about in between 4.5 and 5 kilos after 8 weeks in an obese population. The mechanism of action right there at the bottom, I want to point that to you. A 21% increase in adiponectin is actually very, very significant. This is because people that are overweight and obese and have a lot of excess body fat, they typically have lower levels of adiponectin versus people that are very lean, they typically have higher levels of adiponectin. Adiponectin is a key signaling molecule inside of the body that really helps to enhance fatty acid breakdown, which is code for fat burn inside the body. So it really suggests that some of the mechanism behind this difference in body weight that we see from this human randomized placebo-controlled study is a difference in resting metabolic rate and thermogenesis because your body is enhancing that fat burn. This is the same diet, the same lifestyle. The only difference is the placebo versus the treatment. We're going to look at another clinical study here, looking at body weight reduction as well. If you focus on that graph there, this is going to be in a group of overweight individuals. You can begin to see, right, the beginnings of weight loss in as early as 2 weeks, which is very impressive. But look at how that accelerates over time. After week 4, week 8, week 12, week 16, right, you can see between 5 and 6 kilos of weight loss compared to a very, very small amount in the placebo. This is actually about 6 times greater weight loss in the treatment group that received this herbal blend of this clinically effective amount, right, of the curry, of the drumstick, of the turmeric combined together. Isn't that incredible? I mean, if you're looking for an incredible solution, this is it, right? Same diet, same lifestyle. And I think when we talk to people, a lot of people know, okay, if I want to lose weight, yeah, I need to diet, I need to eat healthy, I should probably exercise, right, to increase that metabolic burn and support my muscle. But a lot of people with that diet and exercise, they struggle, right? They maybe begin to see a few results. And if the only difference is adding these ingredients at this clinical dose, if you see 6 times greater weight loss, it's almost like enhancing the results and the benefits by 6-fold of what you're doing to try to lose weight on your own, which is a struggle for a lot of people. So I really, really, really love this. Although the data isn't shown on this graph within the actual science paper that was published in 2018, lean body mass was preserved and they saw a reduction in body fat. In other words, what this means is that it's not just about weight loss. It's about body composition. It's about body shape. We're helping to maintain lean muscle, right, as part of that lean body mass, and helping to really enhance fat burn as part of this mechanism of this herbal blend, supporting that incredible thermogenic and resting metabolic rate mechanism of action. Okay. This mechanism we've already talked about briefly, but just keep in mind, this blend of herbs is really all focused on targeting some of the sources of weight management related to metabolism, right? Helping to slow down the fat creation or the fat cells getting bigger, right? And the turning of carbohydrates into fat. And it's accelerating the ability to actually use fat as a source of energy. So that increased thermogenic effect. So really, really fun science behind this. Okay. Let's switch gears once again, and we're going to talk about the science of the body's response to food. Now, just think about it. Your response is different from mine, okay? And how you respond to food, or that flexibility that really differentiates the importance of knowing how the body works, knowing how the body processes foods, and ingredients that can actually enhance your body's ability to manage that in a more healthy, sustainable way is going to be absolutely critical. Okay, so let's talk about carbohydrates. Who out there likes carbohydrates? Yeah, I think all of us do, right? And there's nothing wrong with carbohydrates. Don't get me wrong. You need a balance of carbs, of proteins, of healthy fats. Carbs are great. They're fantastic, right? They break down inside of the body, as you can see here, right? They break down into these simple sugars. Anybody know the main one? Right? It's called glucose. That's found inside of your bloodstream. Well, these simple sugars, they're absorbed, they enter the blood. This triggers other biomarkers in the body to be released, right? If you know your biochemistry, when your body has sugar, your pancreas releases some insulin, right? That's the body's response to this sugar that's found in the blood. And these biomarkers, they move those sugars into the cells as an energy source. That's how normal body biochemistry works. However, not all carbs are created the same in terms of the response we have inside of the body, okay? So there's gonna be a range of responses. As you can see over here, this is gonna be the normal, balanced, healthy, more of an ideal response to food, right? You have this response from carbohydrates breaking down inside of the body over time, and this is gonna be linked with feeling satisfied, feeling full, with good levels of energy, right? These types of carbohydrates are going to be like fruits and vegetables and whole grains, right? Things that have a slower curve inside of the body. You feel good, you feel satiated. However, what about the pure sugar or pure starches? You know those kinds of foods, right? The breads, the pastas, the rice, the the processed carbohydrates, the pure sugars, the sugary sweetened drinks, right? The Cokes in the world. What happens? Well, you have this spike that happens inside of the body. And when it spikes up really fast, it comes crashing down very quickly as well. And the problem here is that this response is linked with increased appetite and hunger and decreased levels of energy. And I think all of us can relate to this at one time or another, right? You've had these foods and you get that big glass of pure sugar and you feel great for a second and then you feel a little bit crummier very, very quickly after. And it doesn't satisfy hunger and appetite. And so we want to keep that in mind is what is the science here? And if there are ingredients that can make some of these fast digesting and absorbed carbohydrates digest and be a little bit slower in the response. How do you make the fast ones respond more slowly inside of the body? That is the question of the day. So let's talk about one of these key ingredients that can help with just that. It's a white mulberry leaf, okay? Mulberry leaf is one of my favorite new ingredients. It's widely used actually in some foods throughout Asia, but not all mulberry is created the same, right? What species? Is it red, black, or white? White is going to be key in terms of the science. Is it standardized to the active compound that provides the benefit with responding to food in a more sustainable and a healthier way, right? Is it clinically studied and is it being used at an effective dose? These are all key principles that we look at in the science. Now, I know there's a lot of words here on this slide, but stay with me, okay? So there is a particular mulberry leaf that is standardized to deoxynigericin. We call it DNJ for short. So DNJ is the active compound, and it has a very similar chemical structure to sugars, okay? DNJ competitively inhibits carbohydrate digestive enzymes. Now you have enzymes inside of the gut that break down different types of sugars into smaller, simple sugars inside of the body, okay? This is a normal, natural process. What DNJ does is that it's been shown to slow and impede some, but not all carbohydrate absorption. Now, what that means is that it's slowing down that curve and impeding or getting in the way of some of these carbohydrates from actually being digested and absorbed in the body in the first place. So by slowing it down and getting in the way, it helps to provide a healthier response to carbohydrates, right? Some of these fast ones become slower. So as you can see here at the bottom on this simple graphic, right, you have carbs that are trying to bind to this enzyme to break down. But you also have DNJ with a very similar structure that's trying to do the same thing. And so what happens is sometimes the DNJ from this mulberry leaf, it takes the space of that enzyme. And what happens to that sugar? Well, it has no place to bind, right? So it's going to either be slowed down and be processed by a different enzyme, or it's going to pass through because it's being impeded or blocked in terms of binding there and breaking down into a simple sugar inside the body. On the flip side, sometimes the carbohydrate wins out, right? So the carbohydrate binds to the enzyme and it breaks down into a simple sugar and goes through normal digestive and absorption processes. So what's incredible about this is that the D&J is very, very smart at an effective dose, can help with this process. So the result here is that you get an improved response to your meal based on carbohydrate content and the types of carbohydrates that you consume. There's different types of ingredients in this space. And when you look at the science here, what I love about the mulberry leaf is that it inhibits alpha glucosidase and alpha amylase. Now, these are different enzymes. The alpha amylase is one that's very important for starches, right? The starches are found in rice, in potatoes. Alpha glucosidase is about the breakdown of sugars. So it's going to be more comprehensive in its benefits in terms of slowing and impeding the absorption of carbohydrates versus white kidney bean, which is more focused on starch. And if I'm being completely honest, I've looked at the science of some of these papers. The science is very weak at best and very limited in its scope as well. So let's focus on a few of these studies. Let's talk about sugar to begin with, and then we'll focus on another study on starch to show you the comprehensive nature that mulberry leaf has. Now, this is a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study in 38 healthy participants. They received either 75 grams of pure sucrose, which is just table sugar. That's about 6 tablespoons of sugar. I wish I had 6 tablespoons of sugar right here on the slide for you to see. It's a decent amount of sugar. And they received either 250 milligrams of a mulberry leaf extract that delivers 12.5 milligrams of DNJ or a placebo. One thing I want to call out here is that there are different extracts of mulberry leaf. Some are a little bit higher, where they have about 1250 milligrams, and they have a lower potency of DNJ. But if you take 1250 at a 1% extract of DNJ, you end up getting the same amount of 12.5 milligrams DNJ, which is the key active compound. So just keep that in mind in terms of activity and effectiveness. There are different potency of extracts, but as long as you get that 12.5 milligrams of DNJ, that is the effective dose. So if you look over here to the right on this graph, you can see this curve, this physiological biomarker, if you will. And when you compare the mulberry to the placebo, you can see a drastic reduction in the curbing of the sugar, right? In terms of absorption, slowing, and impeding that, which is an incredible change looking at pure sugar in an immediate, effective way. And this was well tolerated, which is, I think, is important to keep in mind and understand, because look, if you slow and impede, right, this sugar from breaking down inside of the body. Some people might be concerned about, oh, well, is it okay? Does it cause gut issues and things like that? No. Well tolerated, no adverse events reported in this clinical study with 38 healthy individuals. So that's the effect on sugar. Well, what about starch? Well, in terms of starch, there was a similar study that was performed. It was just a single dose showing that it starts to work immediately inside of the body. You take it right at the beginning of a meal, and you can see that with maltodextrin, which is a starch, this is 50 grams of maltodextrin is about 3 pieces of bread, if you can visualize that. So 3 pieces of bread worth of starch, and you either get the placebo or the mulberry leaf, and you can see a nice significant reduction in the overall amount based on this study. So once again, very similar effects here with starch and with sugars. So very comprehensive benefits of the mulberry leaf extract at an effective dose. Okay, in looking at some of the mechanisms of action here, just looking at the source, looking at gene expression, you can see that there are targets related to this biological responses to food. And if you recall, we're talking about carbohydrates, how they break down inside of the body to form these simple sugars, and if it's going to be a slow response or a fast response. And you can see here that there are going to be positive changes looking at gene expression related to how the body responds to these foods in a healthier, more sustainable, balanced way. What about guar gum, right? Guar gum actually pairs very nicely with mulberry leaf because for the mulberry, we want this healthy response to food. And guar gum is really going to enhance the benefit of satiety. What I love about guar gum is that it's very effective even at a lower dose. Now, if you compare this to other sources of fiber like oligofructose, corn fiber, polydextrose, starches, right, reduced maltodextrin, you're going to need much higher amounts to have an effect on satiety. The only problem is that if you start to introduce 20 grams of fiber in your diet with no other changes, it's probably going to come with some other side effects that you don't want, right? Some of the gas, some of the bloating, because your body just isn't used to digesting some of these indigestible fibers from diet or from supplementation. But at 2 grams, it is well tolerated, it is safe, and still helps to enhance satiety to provide one of those key benefits. Because when you think about weight loss, satiety is critical. You need to support that because that's one of the first triggers inside of the body, right? You start eating less food and your body says, hey, I'm hungry. I need more food, right? But you're trying to lose weight and cut calories. And so it becomes this almost fight inside of the body. So any kind of ingredients that helps you to respond better to food combined with ingredients that enhance satiety are going to be absolutely beneficial. Looking at some of the science here, this is just one study. You can see that there's going to be a benefit here. I'm not going to go through all the details, but if you just focus right there on that graphic, you can see they were actually given the same breakfast, both groups, whether they received the guar gum or the placebo, and then they had lunch on their own and snacking was not controlled for. And you can see that there was a difference where the placebo group ate more for lunch and they ate more on snacking for the rest of the day. So it's going to be a small difference, but small differences are actually very impactful during a weight loss journey. So this combination right here, mulberry and guar gum fiber, right? You get that balanced response, a healthier response to food inside of the body, and the benefit of satiety and hunger signals inside of the body. So it's a really, really, really fantastic combination. Okay, so last but not least, we're going to talk about stress. I'm pretty confident that nobody here on this call ever has any stress in their life, right? Okay, wrong. I think we all have different degrees of stress that we experience at different time points in our life. It could be day-to-day stress that we have, right? Because of business, it could be finance, it could be relationships, it could be health, right? There's a lot of things to stress about, probably some good things and probably some bad things that we shouldn't be stressing about. But nonetheless, stress is one of the key enemies with weight loss, right? It makes it very difficult because it changes hormones. It causes hormone responses in the body that can increase appetite. It can decrease satiety. It can have negative changes on your metabolism. And it causes these cravings to go up. And when you're stressed out, you're probably not going to be eating the ideal foods, right? You're going to go for the ice cream, for the cookies, for the cakes, for the desserts, and not the foods that are going to do you well. That being said, when it comes to stress and weight loss, keep in mind, look, it's a journey. When you talk about how many meals you eat per day, say on average, it's about 3, 3 meals times 365 days per year. That's over 1,000 meals you eat in a year. Now, if you have one meal or a few meals throughout a year, even 50 to 100 meals that maybe aren't really desirable, they're not ideal, you might regret it later. You know what? In the long run, it's not going to make much of an impact anyway. What matters is going to be the other 90% of the meals where you're trying to be good and trying to do what's right and trying to follow healthy eating patterns. Okay, so let's talk about stress really quick. Look, this is a given, but it's scientifically shown. Stress often leads to overeating. For some people, it actually leads to undereating and they don't eat enough foods, but most people, they start to eat a little bit more. Well, when they overeat, it can lead to weight gain, or at least impede your ability to lose weight. And then some of those food restrictions that come to reduce weight after that leads to even more stress. So it's this negative cycle, and it usually leads to eating more of these comfort foods, right? Foods that are high in fat, high in sugar, often late at night as well. So what do we do about stress? Well, let's introduce saffron to the world. Saffron is one of my absolute favorite ingredients. It's a very expensive spice, okay? And in fact, because it is so expensive, it is one of the most adulterated ingredients in the entire world. So if you get saffron, make sure you get it from a quality source, right? Make sure it's tested. Make sure it has the active compounds, right? The safranol, the crocin, the picrocin, right? These are some of the active compounds found inside of the stigma. And the reason this is so expensive, you can see the picture here of a beautiful saffron. The stigmas are actually not the purple portion of the leaf. The purple leaf, it is actually hand plucked. It's hand picked aside to leave the stigmas, which are kind of the red pieces on the inside of this beautiful flower. So because of that manual process that takes a lot of time and effort, it's very delicate, and it can only be processed at a certain time of the year. That's the reason it's so expensive. In addition to its incredible health benefits. Now, when you look at the science behind saffron, it is studied for a wide range of things, right? It's going to support overall well-being, mood, weight, hunger, snacking. It's studied for sleep. It's studied for a number of other different things. It's a really powerhouse ingredient in terms of just well-being and stress overall. And it works on different mechanisms, right? Through modulating some of these neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. One of the reasons why people often feel good when they're on saffron, because they're working with these neurotransmitters that just provide that feel-good response inside of the body. They're a little bit happier, right? A little bit more smiley throughout the day, a little bit less irritated by some of the things that happen in life. It also works on inflammation, and it has really nice antioxidant properties too. So all of this combined really makes saffron a really home run type of ingredient in terms of the science. So let's just look a little bit of some of the science related to body weight and weight management. This is a study here. It was double blind, 60 healthy overweight women. It was for 8 weeks, and they took 176.5 milligrams, which is the effective dose of this particular saffron extract for weight, or a placebo, and calorie intake was left unrestricted during the study. So that means they didn't watch calories, they didn't count calories. They pretty much said, just take this and eat what you do on a normal basis. And what they saw actually as early as 2 weeks, a significant difference. And over 8 weeks, there was a small but still significant difference in body weight, which is actually quite nice when they're not counting calories. They're not even controlling their diet. And you still see a nice small reduction in weight without worrying about other things. It possibly could have been a lot better had they provided a structure in terms of diet, lifestyle, exercise, because of the mechanism and because what is happening with saffron, which we know to be incredible for mood and well-being and for snacking. So let's get to the snacking portion. Some people like snacks, right? Some people snack all day long. In fact, if you snack and are one of those people that snacks all day long, you're just munchy after munchy after munchy. A lot of it might be due to just non-intuitive eating, right? You're just eating while you're distracted, because you're watching TV, you're working at the same time. And so you just got that popcorn or whatever you're chewing on, and you just eat and eat and eat, and you're not following some of those signals inside of the body. And snacks, you don't think about it as being a big deal, but for some people, snacks can equate to about 20 to 30% of their total calorie intake. And now there's nothing bad about a snack having during the day, right? If you need a snack, have a snack. You need to listen to your body. But it's the overconsumption of snacking that can really be detrimental here. And a lot of the snacking or the excess snacking can be connected to stress and an unhealthy stress response. So in this study, I'm not going to walk through all of these details here, but it's actually in the same study. They looked at weight and they looked at snacking. There was a significant difference compared to placebo after 8 weeks. And if you look at that graph, they went from 12 snacking events per day. And a snacking event in this study was defined as just an unplanned time where they consumed some kind of snack or food. It went from 12 to 6. So it cut their snacking in half. In addition, they did a survey at the end of the study, and 68%, so about 2/3 of the people in the study, said that they felt less hungry before their meals with taking the saffron. So a nice benefit on satiety, a nice reduction in snacking, and a small but significant change in weight makes this ingredient really, really powerful. Now, I think I already mentioned this, but snacking for different people can be different, but it can equate to about 10 to 30% of the total calories per day. This is the last study I want to share today. Saffron can also be beneficial for women during a monthly cycle. Okay, so this is a study looking at 78 women, 18 to 35 years of age. So they're still in age where they have their monthly cycle, and they were given 30 milligrams, so a lower dose here in this particular case. And they looked at some of the symptoms related to PMS. Some of the key symptoms here relate to mood. Okay, and in this study, what they showed was a nice significant reduction in the severity of these symptoms, including mood, in the group that received saffron compared to a placebo. Now, in terms of science and weight management, this is actually a really nice significant finding. I think it adds a few pieces to this whole story where it can really help women during this time and help to avoid some of the setbacks that can happen on a monthly basis because of changes in mood, because of changes in stress related to the cycle. We can help to curb some of those things and provide more sustainable results because of the benefits of saffron and the mechanisms of action that it has. Looking at some of the mechanisms and going to the source here, this is just going to be a study looking at gene expression that impacts mental well-being. One of the genes they actually looked at is called BDNF. And BDNF makes a protein called BDNF. It's brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And what this does inside of the brain is that it really helps with neuroplasticity. It's something that increases with exercise, so we know it to be really good for the body. And in some of these mechanistic studies, we can also see a change in going to the source in impacting mood, which we know to be an absolutely critical point of weight management. So, to bring this full circle here, there are other ingredients here. Saffron really is going to be the hero ingredient, but vitamin D3 and B6, they're going to be complementary. I mean, you can read some of these things on the screen here, but D3, it's a very important vitamin. It's essential. We need it for brain health, for mood support. Deficiencies are actually very common. So make sure to get vitamin D from supplementation. I know we get a little bit from sun, but make sure, if you like that sunlight to cover up so that you're not getting accelerated sun damage on the outside of your body. Vitamin B6, essential to a lot of enzymes, helps break down food into energy, supports some of the brain functions in terms of neurons, and deficiencies are linked with poor mood. So these are very complementary to just some of the mood and the stress benefits we talk about with the saffron. So bringing this full circle here, let's sum this up and call it good. Look, we talked about the science of eating, right? Eating healthy, not every single meal. Nobody has to be perfect. And I would hate for anyone to feel that, I had one bad meal, I derailed all of my efforts. No, absolutely not. But most of the time, strive to eat healthy, balanced meals and try to be consistent with exercise. Start with something small and work your way up. and do a combination of resistance training to help support muscle and aerobic training, running, swimming, whatever you like to do, but do something. Movement activity is absolutely critical. And it's not just for weight, for overall health and longevity. We talked about motivation being crucial, right? And some of the science behind drumstick, curry, and turmeric, how it really helps to jumpstart some of the results at the very beginning. We talked about protein science and meal replacements, how those are key, getting your protein, getting adequate amounts, and spreading that intake more evenly throughout the day, and the importance of a meal replacement for better weight loss long-term compared to just a regular diet, right? We talked about lean body mass and metabolic rate and thermogenic agents, right? We focused on the drumstick, curry, and turmeric. In this case, we talked about how these ingredients not only help at the very beginning, but they help over time, and they have incredible changes on weight loss and body composition, right? We talked about how your body responds to food, right? Remember the science behind carbohydrates, how they break down inside of the body, how sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slow. And we want that slower response. And because of the science behind mulberry leaf, it's actually really, really cool for the starches and for the sugars. And we talked about the science behind guar gum, right? The importance for satiety and a little bit on snacking. And then last but not least, we talked about stress, right? One of the number one enemies behind weight loss is stress, and you need a good solution for stress. I'm a big fan of saffron. We talked about it, how it helps with mood, with stress, with snacking, supporting all of these related things for weight management. If I could just close with just saying something here. We looked for many years on the latest in scientific insights as it relates to weight loss and weight management, right? The latest insights in terms of what you should eat, when you should eat, the best key ingredients in effective doses. And looking at many, many years at many different extracts, many different ingredients, there are some good things out there. We really feel that these are the best. These are incredible ingredients backed at clinical doses that I went over today that are very effective for really all of these key areas in weight loss and weight management when you think about it, right? When you think about the key areas, you need something that supports, right, your healthy metabolism. You need something that supports lean muscle, right? You need something that supports how your body responds to food, which is really a new insight and a very important thing we've seen from the science. And you need something to help manage that mood and that stress. So this combination here can really be personalized to whatever is going to be most beneficial for you. So I think with that, that is the end of my presentation, and I will close my portion and turn it back to whoever is in charge.
Yes, thank you, Tanner. Thank you, everybody, for that. It's such an insightful presentation. Definitely, I am a snacker, so I can't wait. It's really good insights to understand the science behind it all. So just a quick one. I've seen some questions around, do we have time quickly? I'll probably go through two questions, Tanner, if that's okay, and then we can get back to everybody else after the chat. So there is a question about what's the difference between TRME against TR90, since they are both age-lock weight management.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Look, age-lock TR90 was a really fantastic system. You know, it worked great. It was based on gene expression, supporting a lot of the key areas in weight management, right? Metabolism, lean muscle, and appetite control. With TRME, the approach was very different. We still consider the importance of gene expression science and looking at the source of these key areas, including adding a new one, looking at how the body responds to food. But the major difference is that when we evaluated ingredients to go in these formulas, we looked more at clinical efficacy. So we relied more heavily on human randomized placebo-controlled trials of ingredients at effective doses to put together in this incredible combination of TRME products, in addition to considering the importance of personalization, right? Now, all of these products are important and they're good, but maybe, you know, for someone, they want to focus more on certain things, and for somebody else, they want to focus on different things.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. Another question, last one is TRMe safe to take long term or use long term?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact,
Mhm.
we wouldn't design or create something if we didn't know it was safe to use, right? And so my recommendation with TRMe is, right, to use it, as directed,
Mhm.
and for as long as you need to achieve the results that you want. And
Mhm.
so for some people, they're going to achieve that in 90 days, and that's fantastic and wonderful. But for other people, you might do 90 days and be like, I still want to lose a few more pounds. I still want to improve my body composition, right? So do another cycle of TRMe. And I'm sure down the road, we're going to find people that cycle over and over and over with TRMe and continue to expand and see even greater results over time.
Yeah, and what's great about it is you can tweak it depending on your need for that particular moment as well. So, which is amazing. So thank you so much, Tanner. So I think for everybody, thank you for attending our session. And don't worry, this isn't the last. We'll have more training. We'll have a preview at convention. So please don't forget to get your tickets now. But before that, we still have TR90 as our, it is still a great weight management tool for us. So keep promoting it before TRMe products is available in Pacific. So thank you. And if you have any questions, contact us. Don't hesitate. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Tanner. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. See ya.